Okay, everybody, great. Thank you so much for coming by to your online lucid dreaming course. This is going to be so much fun. Listen, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to guide you through all the exercises that you need to start lucid dreaming right now. Now, it's very, very important that you go in order that I tell you, and it's very important that you do all of the steps that I tell you. We're going to start with the mnemonic lucid dreaming technique. Mnemonic lucid dreaming is when you fall asleep and something within your dream triggers the lucidity, a memory of something. So if you're in the dream and you see a fish floating through the air, and that triggers the lucidity, and all of a sudden you go, wait a second, I must be dreaming, then that's a mnemonic lucid dream. The wake-induced lucid dream, or dream yoga, is when you meditate yourself from this state to the dream state without losing consciousness. You do that through a process of relaxation, meditation, and concentration. So for the mnemonic lucid dream, it's very important that you do everything in the exact order that I tell you, and within 30 days you will be having lucid dreams. It is not so hard, and the very first thing that you need to do is just tell yourself that lucid dreaming is easy and it's very simple. Now, it's very important that you understand exactly what lucid dreaming is before we start. This is something that you need to understand because you have to have a lot of excitement in order to have lucid dreams. So what I want you to do is I want you to just listen to this dream, and you can get a little bit of excitement about how lucid dreaming is and what it is that you can do there. So in this particular dream, it was one that I used in order to heal my friend Jack when he had cancer on his tongue. Okay, so this particular dream I was inducing through a wake-induced technique, which I will teach you in just a little while on some of the other videos. And the wake-induced technique is a process of meditation, so I woke up early and I began to meditate, and all of a sudden I began to make the transition from here into the dream world. Well, while I was in the dream world, I saw myself there sitting on the beach, in fact, here in Mexico. And while I was sitting there, I floated from here to there, and all of a sudden there I was in the dream, sitting on the beach. That's a little bit of a strange experience, but yet it's also very exciting. It's a transition period, and there I was sitting on the beach, and I could feel the water touching my feet. Well, the water, when it touches your feet, it's like different than when it touches your feet normally. It's like silk, and it's like going through you, and you have so many more sensations. So the water touching my feet just made me realize even more that I was dreaming. I looked at my hands and I told myself, I'm dreaming and I want to fly and I want to go and find Jack and I want to do the healing for him. So I jumped into the air and I flew as fast as I can like Superman. I began to fly as fast as I could. I flew over landscapes of ocean, over landscapes of big grass fields, over landscapes of big mountains. And I just kept flying and flying, thinking I want to be with Jack and I want to heal him and do the healing work. Well, when you're flying like that, it's so much fun that you kind of forget that you're dreaming a little bit and you're indulged in flying. So I kept flying, and the very interesting thing is that I looked down on the ground and there was a little guy, he's a little smaller than me, about my age, and he was just running along on the ground, and everywhere that I would fly, he would run and run and run and run and run and run and run. And I looked down, and there he was. He was always there. It's like a guide, somebody there to help me. Well, I kept flying and flying and flying. I flew for what appeared to be one full day, almost 8 hours of flying in the dream. And as it started to appear to get dark in the dream, what I did then is I went inside a big, huge rock cliff, and inside there was a cave. And I landed in there, and there were some hot springs in there, and I got in the hot springs. And this friend of mine who was on the ground, he was running as fast as he could, and he ran and just showed up in the cave. and he got into the hot springs with me, and we started to eat dinner in there. And I was sitting in there eating dinner, and I was having this really intense conversation with him when I realized, what is it that I'm doing here? And I was talking to him about the nature of the dream, and he asked me a question. He said, Jerimiah, what are you doing? And that's when I looked in his eyes, and I said, oh, wait a second, you're right, what am I doing? I'm sitting here eating dinner with you. I totally forgot that I was dreaming, and I went into a dream, a regular dream, and I lost my intention. So I got my intention back. I said, I've got to go because I'm in the dream, and I'm dreaming right now, and I need to go find Jack. So I started to fly again from what appeared to be another full day of flying. And when I got there to the border of Boulder, Colorado, where I was on a huge cliff, and I flew over many different other landscapes, and I'm standing on this big, huge cliff looking out over the lights of Boulder, Colorado, and I was like, oh, I can see the Flatirons, I'm almost there. And Jack is in Ward, Colorado, where I was born. So I thought to myself, wait a second, what am I doing? All this time I've been flying, I almost woke up, I forgot that I was dreaming, and all I have to do is I just need to teleport myself there. This is a dream. There's no time, there's no distance, there's no gravity. I don't need to fly all this way and take all this time and almost wake myself up and even forget that I was dreaming. So at that moment I jumped off of the cliff, and as I was falling, I began to spin. And spinning can be a means of transportation in the dream world, so I spun around as fast as I could, spinning around and around, telling myself, I want to be with Jack at Jack's house. I want to be with Jack at Jack's house. And all of a sudden, boom, there I was. I had teleported myself there to Ward, Colorado, and I was standing right there in his front door. Well, I walked in, and I looked down on the ground, and there was 5 crystal balls. And inside of these crystal balls, there was different figures of the Buddha, and I picked one up. I could feel energy coming from it, and they made me feel very comfortable, like there was higher presence. So I moved over, and I saw Jack sitting there on his chair, and I said, Jack, this is a dream. We are dreaming right now. And will you give me permission to do some healing work for you? And Jack took off his glasses, and he stood up, and he said, oh yeah, of course you can. Go ahead. I give you permission. And so at that point, I closed my eyes in the dream, and I began to visualize a big ball of golden yellow light. And because I had done Jack's astrological chart, I knew that he needed a lot of Venus energy, which is yellow. And I began to create this big ball of golden yellow light in my hands, and it was there, a big ball of it. And then I started to passing it over to Jack, and I put it in his head, I put it on his tongue. I just passed the energy into his body, and all I was thinking about was unconditional love. After about 10 minutes of doing this, Jack began to glow, and he looked younger, and he smiled, and he said, oh, I feel much better. And I said, well, okay, then the healing is done, and I can go now, and we'll see you when I wake up. So I told myself that this is a dream, and I want to wake up right now. So I began to close my eyes in the dream and tell myself I'm going to wake up because I want to remember everything. What you find is if you wake up suddenly, you forget some of the dream. So as I did that, I slowly started to make the transition back, and there I was back in my bed. I could wiggle my toes, and I woke up, and I looked at the clock, and in fact, what I had experienced was 2 full days, almost 3 full days of flying, and the dream itself was 45 minutes from when I fell asleep until when I woke up. I wrote the whole thing down, and I was absolutely amazed by the experience, having a lucid dream hangover, which is an experience that you have after a lucid dream, which gives you this excitement, this feeling of enthusiasm and accomplishment, especially if you accomplish your intention in the dream. Well, I wrote the whole thing down, and believe it or not, after 3 lucid dreams like that, the cancer in Jack's tongue had gone away, and I believe that it was a combination of what I was doing and a combination of what he was doing. So the power of lucid dreaming and healing is very, very powerful, and we're going to get into that a little bit later in other lessons. But right now, what I want you to do is I want you to understand what lucid dreaming is, and that dream illustrates the different levels of lucidity. So, you have what's known as a semi-lucid dream. And when you have a semi-lucid dream, that means that you're in the dream and you just barely know that you're dreaming in the back of your mind. And you don't have any control, you're like a puppet. And you're just moving along like in a play, a puppet in a play. And you don't have any control of what you're doing, but you're just doing things. But you know in the back of your mind, oh, this is a dream. So that's a semi-lucid dream. Well, then you have the regular lucid dream, and the regular lucid dream is when you know that you're dreaming 100%, you have all the dream control that you need, you can fly, you can teleport, you can do almost anything that you want to, and you can stay in the dream. Well, the regular lucid dream state is really fascinating, but what we're looking for is what's known as a high lucid dream. A high lucid dream is when you know that you're dreaming, and you know exactly what it is you want to do with the dream. Just like when I found that I was dreaming in the dream and I knew that I wanted to go and heal Jack, I had my intention with me, because remember, awareness plus intention equals control. If you have awareness with no intention, you have no control. So that's really important. And this dream that I told you illustrates the different levels, and you can see how you can be fully lucid, you can be semi-lucid, you can forget that you're dreaming, and then you can go back into a high lucid state. And when you accomplish your intention, then you have accomplished a high lucid dream. So this is the different types of lucid dreaming, and it's really important that you understand that so that you know what you're looking for when you go into the dream, and that you're excited for the next time that you are dreaming. So go ahead and read through this the lucid dreaming introduction, and it'll give you a little more description, and I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, great dreaming. Just one more thing, I just want to make sure that you go in order. So the first thing is go ahead and read through the lucid dream introduction lesson that I have there. It has some descriptions of what I just talked about, also some other lucid dreams that I've had, so that you have a really good understanding of what it is when you're lucid, high lucid, or semi-lucid. And just remember that all of this is based on excitement. So get yourself really excited, because you're going to have a lucid dream very, very soon here, okay? And then we'll move on to the next step. So go ahead and look at that, and then you can move on. All right, have a wonderful day.